Alright everyone, Cowboy Trades here. Welcome back to the channel for another update on JASMY. So last week we were talking about how JASMY is setting up to melt faces, and it was because of this major pattern which has been forming since the 14th of January. And today we've just broken to the downside of this and confirmed that this pattern is soon going to be coming into fruition. What's the price target? What to expect next for JASMY? Let's talk about this now. Just very quickly before we dive into JASMY, we talked about this pattern playing out over on Bitcoin on my channel yesterday, so be sure to check out yesterday's Bitcoin video, Bitcoin flash crash. We had that bearish Binance news that Binance was getting a lawsuit coming their way. And as you can see, we have started to break to the downside of this diamond pattern, and it's looking like Bitcoin wants to head down to 24,000. Now, as of the time of recording, Bitcoin's breaking down. JASMY is also not looking too hot since our last video. We've really got that continuation that we did predict for the markets. And as we discussed in the previous video, about 5 or 6 days ago when we were trading, you know, around about 5 cent, low 5 cent-ish, we were forming this head and shoulders pattern, and we have started to move to the downside of this. Now, you can see if we do pull up the EMA ribbons over on JASMY, that the EMA ribbons are miles and miles above our heads right now. We don't really have too much in terms of support beneath us. If I do pull up the fixed volume profiles for this particular range, you can see the point of control where we spent a decent amount of time trading is right above us at 5 cent. And as we do break to the downside right now, we do not have much support coming down until about 4 cent. Now, you will hear me talk about that 4 cent price target a little bit later on in the video. There is also another area of confluence to do with this, but as you can see over here, we have a beautiful left shoulder, we have a head, and we have a right shoulder. There's a few different ways that you can argue the neckline of this head and shoulder. Technically, if you're drawing it from where the left shoulder tapped out, you could draw something like this trend line. If you want to draw from the wicks down here and discount this left shoulder coming back down to the neckline, you can argue that once again this trend line is right around here. We've got this blue box drawn out because, you know, it's very ambiguous as to whether you want to draw the trend line or the neckline in multiple different ways, but really this was your last line of support for the head and shoulders, this last wick all the way back down here on the 18th of June at 0.0044 cent. We have retested this level. We are currently retesting this level right now as JASMY gets ready for a major move to the downside. Now, if we do look at the breakdown price target of where this head and shoulders could take us down to, it's looking like, if we pull this over, not that it will make a difference, but this is going to take us all the way down to about 0.0023 cent. This is really not a price target for next week. This is a pretty significant drop, down about 48%. This is really a macro pattern, and this will be taking us down into new bear market lows for JASMY. Now, we've, of course, on the channel been talking about how we were going to come back down to these range lows for a plethora of different reasons. We talked about this before this pattern actually started to form out, because originally we were discussing this SFP pattern, swing failure pattern. This was the low of the original range, around about 0.003. We broke beneath this range low and we had a SFP pattern, a swing failure pattern. Basically, failed move equals a fast move in the opposite direction. This was your range high. You broke above the range high. You had a swing failure pattern. Failed move equals a fast move in the opposite direction. And just like we've been predicting, JASMY is getting that beautiful continuation to the downside, exactly as we have been predicting. Weekly time frame, you can see Heikanashis are absolutely melting to the downside. So it seems fairly obvious that we are going to be coming down to these price targets that we just mentioned in this video. Now, let's move on to our next chart. While we have been breaking to the downside, since our last video, we were discussing this pretty much last line in the sand for JASMY, round about that 4.8 level. We have broken to the downside, lost the 618 Fibonacci from the bear market lows up to this most recent swing high. So the next price target is, once again, what do you know, this region that we talked about at the start of the video, 0.004. Technically the 786 is at 0.0039, but this is exactly coming into beautiful confluence to where the fixed range volume profiles are telling us that the next area of liquidity is going to be traded around this market. So how quickly can we start coming down to these price targets? Well, let's focus on the lower time frame ones to start with. This is the most conservative drop. Even if you're a bull, it's not out of order to say, hey, we might drop 11% and then the new bull run starts. That would be bullish consensus. Not personally what I'm predicting, but Even in a best case scenario right now, as we have lost the 618, we retested the 0.5 as resistance, we've lost the 618 again, it seems pretty obvious that we're heading down to the 786, whether you're a bull or a bear. So about an 11% drop, that is the next move for JASMY, of course, about 48% drop if you're a little bit more bearish like myself. So with this, on the daily time frame, I would say this is the next move. How quickly can we come back down to this level? Well, on the daily, we're seeing a little bit of 50-50ness right now. You can see that the stochastic RSI is in a pretty oversold region. The MFI, however, still has more room to come to the downside, and the squeeze momentum indicator is actually saying that we're just starting a new bearish trend. So all in all, these are pretty much all bearish. Do bear in mind, while the stochastic RSI is oversold right now, if you actually look at what happened since about February when JASMY was topping out, we were in the oversold region from, this whole time. In fact, JASMY pushed up, broke back down into oversold when it was around about 0.007. And you might be saying, hey, the stochastic is saying that we're oversold as we're crossing bearish again. But, we continue to break down about another 42%. Before, even having like a 30% bounce. And then, of course, we just continue to break back down lower. So don't be too fooled. While the stochastic RSI may be in oversold regions right now, this is what happened the last time it was in oversold. It broke down for a very long time, had a bounce, and barely retraced half of this move. So almost all of the oscillators on the daily time frame are basically saying that we're kind of just getting ready with a little bit more continuation to break to the downside. Weekly time frame, we have a lot more room to move to the downside. But before I talk about how on the weekly we've got more room to move down, lower time frames, you can see on the 4-hour we are actually building a case of bullish regular divergence. Now, I've previously discussed this on the chart. This is probably going to take a while to play out. What I really think the best way to look at this bullish divergence on the 4-hour is probably that this 4-hour divergence is going to continue to build. What this bullish divergence is as you can see over here to the right side of the screen, if we look at the cheat sheet, regular bullish divergence is formed when price action makes lows, lower lows, lower lows, and lower lows, and the oscillator makes lows, higher lows, higher lows, and eventually we'll probably make a higher low over on the RSI again. Now, please do bear in mind this curvature line that I've got fitted for the price action is in no way, shape, or form me saying that I think we're going to bounce on this level and then start grinding up. I do believe this is eventually going to be redrawn. I imagine, in the next video, I'm probably going to have it redrawn something like this as we break back down and retest this line. And if we do break down and retest this line, come down to round about this level, 4 cent, this could look like something like this on the 4-hour time frame for JASMY, as we do have a slight buyback. We could come down to 0.004 cent and build up an even stronger case for bullish divergence before a slight bounce. This could allow us to drop a further 12% or so, come down to 0.004, and then have a bounce back up. Where could we bounce back up to? Well, this could correlate to something very simple like a retest of the EMA ribbon. So at which point, maybe we'd be calling for a 15% move, maybe a 20% move. I'll of course keep you up to date on the charts, and also on the channel we've been looking at the total 2, which is the altcoin market, which looks like this week and the past few weeks it's pending and just kind of confirming like a major rejection level. So I just wanted to point out that yes, at some point it is looking likely that JASMY could set up a major bounce coming on the 4-hour time frame. I do always try and give a completely unbiased perspective on these markets. So when I do see these bullish signals talking about, hey, maybe a bounce could be coming at some point soon, I of course do want to talk about these. But in the higher time frames, even in the lower time frames, a 12% drop is very likely before we even witness that smaller time frame bounce. Higher time frames, of course, this would look something like this. We'd be breaking down to 4, having a bounce back up, probably coming back down to the range lows, and doing something like this, zigzagging down to this macro bearish price target, an 84% drop down to 0.0023. Because while we are talking about this bounce on the 4-hour time frame, I mean, look at the weekly. A 48% drop is likely to come, and when we look at the weekly oscillators, your stochastic RSI is at 64, your money flow index is at 78, and the squeeze momentum indicator is heavily in green right now. We've only just ticked into dark green, indicative that a bearish momentum swing is only just starting for JASMY. And this next major meltdown to the downside in the macro time frame, we're talking about looking at the weekly time frame. We're not talking about, daily time frame. Oh, we're up 10% today, we're up 30% in the past 2 days, because you can see instances like this where we have 30% rallies in a day, but then you wait a little bit, you wait until the weekly candle closes, and the weekly time frame continues to bleed out to the downside. This is really what our weekly oscillators are telling us. The squeeze momentum indicator has lots of room to move to the downside. The MFI is completely overextended. All of these oscillators are super overextended. So in the higher time frames, get ready for 0.0023 in my opinion. Now, wrapping up on the higher time frames, has much changed? Well, no. What we've been predicting is for JASMY BTC to break down 55%. Some people laughed at us. Some people said we have a negative predisposition towards JASMY, and my followers will miss out because of my quote-unquote bearish bias. These people aren't commenting anymore. Since I made this video talking about a 55% drop, JASMY has broken down 39% since then, and as you can see, it's looking like we're getting ready for about another 26% drop. Since we did make this prediction for JASMY BTC to break down into new bear market lows on a 55% drop, we obviously have broken down 42% into new bear market lows, but right now we're retesting this one fib, basically the bear market lows that were established in December on the JASMY BTC pair. We're retesting this right now. I think we're going to start heading down to complete the rest of this move very, very soon in the higher time frames, of course. As we have discussed, if we clear up this chart, if we clear up the bull market support bands, we've been rejected from the EMA ribbons. If we clear up the EMA ribbons and pull up the bull market support bands, this week we are falling to the downside for the past 2 weeks. In fact, last week we closed a bearish candle underneath the bull market support bands. The last time this happened, this was presented with a parabolic 87% drop to the downside in only like 2 months. So really get prepared for a major move to come very, very soon for JASMY. We've got a lot of confirmation signals telling us that we're going to go lower. Our beautiful Elliott wave theory, which we've been keeping our eyes on, you can see this ABC correctory wave formation up to around about 32 cent, was preceded with a 1, 2, 3, 4 bearish wave count to the downside. This 4 that we quite recently had from the bear market lows in November, December, coming up to the rally that we had in February. Looks like it's topping out, and we should be heading down to wave 5. Where is wave 5 going to be? Well, it's not actually the price target that I gave you earlier. If you want to recap on this, this is going to be a 48% drop down to 0.0023. If we look at the Fibonacci targets, which as we have previously been looking at, Fibonacci pairs seem to be well respected over on JASMY. So I personally right now, as you can see, we've lost the 618 fib. We talked about this 12% drop in the next week or so down to the 786 Fibonacci. After we do complete this, I think we're going to be heading all the way down to this psychological level, 0.001. We've also got a 1.236 Fibonacci extension down at 0.001. We've got a 1.236 at 0.0017. Of course, we were predicting an 80% drop to come into these markets in our last video. We're down about 10%. So, no major moves has been made so far. I still do believe that we're going to continue with this and get about another 77% drop, more conservative price target as we discussed at the earlier stages of the video. You could be looking at this 48% drop. We also have price targets right here, a 60% drop, 67% drop, and then where I personally think we'll be coming down to for the bear market is 0.001, a 77% drop. So for today, my friends, that is all I've got for you for JASMY. We are really just confirming this macro head and shoulders pattern right now. We've grabbed liquidity from these ranges, and the higher time frames, your oscillators are heading down, just like we talked about. Very, very lower time frames, we may be building a case for some strong bullish divergence, but this is on the 4-hour time frame. This is likely to allow us to have a bounce when we do come down to the 786 Fibonacci, retest the EMA ribbons before heading down into new bear market lows. So when that bounce looks like it's coming for the markets, I will of course keep you updated and let you know when I think the bullish divergence is going to play out. But please do bear in mind, in the higher time frames, we have a lot more room to move to the downside for JASMY. So for today, my friends, that is all I've got. As always, I will keep you up to date, so make sure to turn notifications on for my updated opinions on JASMY. If you do enjoy my content, let me know down below by leaving a like and a comment. Share the videos with your friends. If you want to further support the channel, click the join button and become a member today. Also, be sure to follow me over on Twitter at 618_cowboy. I'll leave it here. It's been your boy Cowboy Trades. I am out, my friends. Peace.